Man, I'm going to tell you something. Let's take a look at the starting grid, because on pole position is Kyle Wyman, a 1:49.383 and a new lap record.
Yeah, and then we have Troy Herfoss and Loris Baz. Never been to this track before, I had Loris, so new one for him. Bradley Smith, you saw that, Rispoli and Tyler O'Hara. And then we have Gillum, Peterson, and Rocco Landers with Onsorg Lewis and Corey West just outside of row 4. And then Max Flinders just...
Pit lane 2, turn number 1, something that's unique when races start, but it's all about off the back straightaway on our very first run to the chicane to see if someone's in a 5, 6, 8 rider draft, if they got the brakes. So the lights go off. Here we go. We're going racing. It looks like Kyle Wyman got a good launch, and he's going to hold the inside line, and it's going to be the 33 who leads us into turn 1.
Oh, man.
And an accident. Down goes a couple riders.
One of them looks like
Rispoli.
Rispoli looks like one of them, and I'm not sure who the other one was. But yep, that was big down into turn number 1. I want to is it Baz? Could be Baz.
Yeah, it looks like Baz. I can tell from the helmet. So Loris Baz out of this one with Rispoli. A little bit of contact. And you never know, with this time first race start, with the extra width of those bags, contact is made.
Look at these lap times, 49.6s for both guys. So Troy a little bit quicker in sector 2 and 3. Bradley Smith and O'Hara come across some second and a half slower.
And Herfoss off of 186.5 mile-an-hour top speed, able to close a little bit on Kyle Wyman. Fastest lap of the race so far, 149.608.
Yeah, now you can see, Greg, perfect weather here today at Daytona, but you can see Herfoss is able to make up that ground, and he's made up that ground by getting down into turn 1 off of that top speed that you're talking about. And he's made up the ground that he needs to on Kyle. Now it's going to be just about 5.5 laps more of some cat and mouse between the two of them, as it will between these two also, with Cam Peterson running 5th, and Rocco is right behind Cam for that top 5. Cam Peterson's first time racing a bagger as well, and you see him just off the back of these two here, and he's got Rocco Landers directly behind him, and then Jake Lewis 7th on the Saddleman bike. Good to see that. Saddleman bikes last year weren't running up quite as high as they are now, so for Jake Lewis running 7th with Gillum in 8th.
Definitely some good guidance from them. Really excited to get things started, and just hoping to do as best as he can today and learn as much as he possibly can.
Sounded like we had a crash, and it's the number 1 plate of Troy Herfoss who goes down just out of our camera's view. We heard it. Jason and I looked at each other, and we could hear it as Herfoss hits the deck. That's going to promote Bradley Smith into 2nd place and Cameron Peterson up into 3rd.
So this is a completely different bike, a completely different feel getting on the bankings with this big bagger, but he's going to find himself right now battling for 2nd place as they've opened up a really big gap between Jake Lewis and Rocco Landers. Jake Lewis now running 4th on that Saddleman Harley-Davidson. Yeah, he's about 4 seconds off in that first split. I haven't seen to see if he's actually pulled back into the pits, because he did pop up on our board with the first split. So I'll have to see. This race is still raging on between these two guys. Bradley's had a look over his shoulder now.
His team, the Harley-Davidson by Dynojet Factory Racing team, has been able to accomplish has been great, and that work that Kyle Wyman has put in also paying dividends for Bradley Smith in 2nd place. And I guarantee you, down here in Daytona Beach, Florida, at the end of Bike Week 2025, Harley-Davidson would like nothing more than to have a 1-2 on the podium in Mission King of the Baggers race number 1 of 2 for the weekend. And Bradley Smith under braking, getting a little sideways. Keep in mind, these are motorcycles with no electronic aids. Yeah, there's no traction control like you see on super bikes. So everything they're doing is all right wrist. It's kind of a throwback type racing here in Mission King of the Baggers. And tip of the cap to Bradley Smith, who shows up, gets some tests in.
His white flag is out. And Bradley Smith right now had a little bit of a gap on Cam Peterson.
Kyle slowed down quite a bit. He's done a 155 flat, so they've closed the gap now down to 3 seconds. You can see there's the battle for 2nd.
Cam went through. Bradley Smith let off the gas really, really early going into turn 1, like really early, because Cam P was quite a bit a ways behind him. So maybe this was Bradley's thought was, hey, I've seen so many people lose this race from the chicane to the checkered flag, and he doesn't want to be caught out like that. So he is now going to get to follow Cam Peterson. I think 2 laps ago he tried to let Cam pass in this next turn that they're going to be going in. He ran really, really wide and was kind of looking over his shoulder. And now he's going to get in behind Cam Peterson to see if he's going to be able to draft past him.
And if Kyle Wyman is just managing this race, Jay, where he just kind of slowed down just to make sure he gets home nice and comfortable, he could put a little pressure on the two riders behind him going, wow, we just reeled him in by about 5 seconds.
That's right.
Off of a 155 to 151s of Bradley Smith and Cameron Peterson. But up onto the banking comes your factory Harley-Davidson Dynojet Factory Racing Road Glide racer Kyle Wyman on the 33 as he heads towards the chicane. And they come across, and it's like 101 for Kyle in sector number 1. So there's no extreme hurry up in that one, as coming off the back straight into the chicane comes the battle for second place. And now it looks like Bradley Smith is in a good position to draft and pass.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he did. He played this pretty smart, did Bradley, for his first time here. So he's done his study, and you know how smart he is just from all of the testing he's done on all these different bikes. And look at that factory Harley goes right by. And Cam might have even let off a little bit there to try to do that, but it's all about this guy.
The number 33, Kyle Wyman, in our first race of 2025, comes across the stripe. He'll take the checkered flag and the maximum 25 points to lead this championship. And Bradley Smith will be second place, 2.5 seconds behind his teammate Cameron Peterson in his first race on the podium. And coming across the number 78 of Kyle Ohnsorg on the Tab Performance Racing Indian Challenger.
How about Cameron Peterson? We were excited about him joining this category. He knew it was going to be an uphill battle. He knew he didn't have the experience, but he was right there when he needed to be.
It's Wyman over Bradley Smith in his debut. Cameron Peterson also on the podium. Ohnsorg Lewis, great results
really
for
good
the Saddlemen development team. It's just outstanding.